Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Before starting the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe Beta Facts and also press the bell icon to get the latest updates. So let's get started. Deja vu is the uneasy feeling that you felt, heard or seen which in fact you never have. Say, you go paddleboarding for the first time. You've never done anything like it, but you suddenly have a distinct memory of making the same arm motions, under the same blue sky, with the same waves lapping at your feet. Or perhaps you're exploring a new city for the first time and all at once feel as if you've walked down that exact tree-lined footpath before. Deja vus are nothing to worry about, as 60% to 70% of healthy people experience some form of deja vu during their lifetime. Although deja vu can accompany trusted source seizures in people with temporal lobe epilepsy, it also occurs in people without any health issues. While deja vu is fairly common, especially among young adults, experts haven't identified a single cause. Experts do, however, have a few theories about the most likely underlying causes. What causes a deja vu? Researchers can't easily study deja vu, partially because it happens without warning and often in people without underlying health concerns that might play a part. What's more, deja vu experiences tend to end as quickly as they begin. The sensation may be so fleeting that if you don't know much about deja vu, you may not even realize what just happened. You might feel a bit unsettled but quickly brush off the experience. Experts suggest several different causes of deja vu. Most agree it likely relates to memory in some way. So let's see what causes a deja vu. Split perception. The theory of split perception suggests deja vu happens when you see something two different times. The first time you see something, you might be distracted. Your brain can begin forming a memory of what you see even with the limited amount of information you get from a brief, incomplete glance. If your first view of something, like the view from a hillside, didn't involve your complete attention, you might believe you're seeing it for the first time. But your brain recalls the previous perception, even if you didn't have total awareness of what you were observing. So, you experience deja vu. In other words, since you didn't give the experience your full attention the first time it entered your perception, it feels like two different events. But it's really just one continued perception of the same event. Minor brain circuit malfunctions. Another theory suggests deja vu happens when your brain glitches, so to speak, and experiences a brief electrical malfunction, similar to what happens during an epileptic seizure. In other words, it can happen as a sort of mix-up when the part of your brain that tracks present events and the part of your brain that recalls memories are both active. Your brain falsely perceives what's happening in the present as a memory, or something that already happened. This type of brain dysfunction generally isn't cause for concern unless it happens regularly. Memory recall. Many experts believe deja vu has to do with the way you process and recall memories. Research conducted by Anne Cleary, a deja vu researcher and psychology professor at Colorado State University, has helped generate some support for this theory. Through her work, she's found evidence to suggest deja vu can happen in response to an event that resembles something you've experienced but don't remember. Maybe it happened in childhood, or you can't recall it for some other reason. Even though you can't access that memory, your brain still knows you've been in a similar situation. This process of implicit memory leads to the somewhat odd feeling of familiarity. If you could recall the similar memory, you'd be able to link the two and likely wouldn't experience deja vu at all. This commonly happens, according to Cleary, when you see a particular scene, like the inside of a building or a natural panorama, that's very similar to one you don't remember. You may have experienced this yourself. Many people report that deja vu experiences trigger a strong conviction of knowing what's going to happen next. But Cleary's research suggests that even if you feel certain you can predict what you're about to see or experience, you generally can't. Further research may help better explain this prediction phenomenon, and déjà vu in general. This theory rests on the idea that people tend to experience feelings of familiarity when they encounter a scene that shares similarities with something they've seen before. Here's an example of Gestalt familiarity. It's your first day at a new job. As you walk into your office, you're immediately taken aback by the overwhelming feeling you've been here before. If you've ever walked into a room with a similar layout and placement of furniture, chances are good you're experiencing déjà vu because you have some memory of that room but can't quite place it. Instead, you just feel as if you've seen the new office already, even though you haven't. What are temporal lobe seizures? Most people experience déjà vu with no adverse health effects. In rare cases, déjà vu can be a sign of a neurological disorder. Individuals with epilepsy often have focal seizures that occur in one area of the brain, sometimes in the temporal lobe where we store memories. These are called temporal lobe seizures. Seizures involve bursts of uncontrolled electrical activity that cause nerve cells in your brain to misfire. The shortness of focal seizures and the fact that people typically remain awake when they happen make it hard to recognize what's happening. People may mistake a person having a focal seizure as daydreaming or staring off into the distance. Temporal lobe seizures can produce feelings of déjà vu. Signs that you may be having a temporal lobe seizure versus a regular déjà vu experience include sudden, unexplained feelings, like joy or anger, problems controlling your muscles, twitching in your muscles, having sensations that involve vision, taste, smell, hearing, and touch, feeling as though you are about to have a seizure. Temporal lobe seizures impact your ability to interact with other people. Most of them last anywhere from 30 seconds to minutes. You may lose awareness of your surroundings or realize that you've been sitting and staring off into the distance. Others may observe you smacking your lips or constantly chewing and swallowing during the seizure. Once the temporal lobe seizure ends, you may find yourself feeling confused. It may be difficult for you to speak or remember what happened while having the seizure. A temporal lobe seizure can become a more serious tonic-clonic, or grand mal, seizure that causes convulsions and makes you lose consciousness.